has also taken a note of this outage. Sources now inform us that India's IT ministry is also all set to issue an advisory very soon on this. So clearly the Indian government is also acting on this. We have seen on how the governments in the US and also in Australia have already called for a meeting to ensure that this issue is dealt with. And one of the biggest reasons is that CrowdStrike is a platform, is a service that government organizations also use to ensure that their data is kept safe. And one of the biggest issues that also could prop up is that is this now going to make the data vulnerable as well? My colleague Sumita also joins us on the broadcast to get us more details on this. And Sumita, we are now looking at how the entire digital infrastructure across sectors have now been brought to the knees as well. And also one of the biggest concerns here that the governments have, in fact, CrowdStrike on its website is also describing around 82% of US governments also use their infrastructure to keep their data safe. So does this now mean that there could potentially be a harm? There could potentially be a vulnerability as far as government data is concerned?
Yes, in fact, the government sources are stating that they will be issuing an advisory soon. They're taking cognizance of the massive issue that, of course, has ballooned now across the world, not just in India. Remember, but let's also go to what Microsoft was stating as the preliminary root cause. They said, and I quote, a configuration change in portion of our Azure backend workloads. It caused interruption between storage and compute resources, which resulted in connectivity failures. Now, let's also understand why this is happening. This is happening because CrowdStrike, which is a cybersecurity firm of course, gives its services to several companies across the world and not just Microsoft. Now, there was an updation as far as CrowdStrike was concerned. In fact, several cybersecurity experts who we've spoken to, they've not said that this is they've not ascertained whether this is a cybersecurity breach as of now. But what they surely hint is that governments across the world, not just in India, governments and private companies across the world need to invest more as far as cybersecurity is concerned. The reason being that cybersecurity incidents are turning increasingly geopolitical. So you have and in fact, it was during the COVID-19 pandemic that most number of cybersecurity incidents happened across the globe. However, not enough cognizance, not enough attention is really paid to cybersecurity incidents. However, we are yet to ascertain. In fact, Microsoft will also be issuing a statement in a short while from now on what really caused this outage. Meanwhile, major Indian airlines have really been impacted by this high volumes of the check-in and boarding processes across airports. In fact, London Stock Exchange also, according to several reports, they are also reporting they're also affected. The major banks, and of course, even shopping markets, even they are impacted, is what we are learning as of now as far as this incident is concerned. We're of course waiting and watching out for what the government has to say as far as this incident is concerned, because this is not just India specific. This is happening across the globe.
Absolutely. Sumita, a quick follow-up question on that. What's the official word from Microsoft and CrowdStrike as of now? Do we have any details about the technical issue that has been caused, the entire issue, or are they still working on it?
Yeah, in fact, like I was stating, Microsoft has stated that they are working on it. Let me read out a quote from their official blog that they posted a short while back. They said, and I quote, "We remain committed in treating this event with the highest priority and urgency while we continue to address the lingering impact for the remaining Microsoft 365 apps that are in a degraded state." So can you imagine the whole set of Microsoft 365 apps? Those apps are all facing an outage. And Microsoft, meanwhile, we tried reaching out to the company. We've written to the company, but Microsoft has not stated anything on record. There's no statement issued as yet. They'll be waiting and watching out for what the global guidance is on this issue. Meanwhile, sources within the company also state that as of now, according to what several reports are stating, that IT ministry has spoken to Microsoft. Microsoft sources have denied any such thing happening.
Sir, what is the other option?
Well, the other option is right now we just have to investigate and find out how much time will it take to come back to normalcy. We'll have to look at more investigations. Different countries are now huddling together to find out what should be the approaches. Countries have taken cognizance. The government of India has taken cognizance of this. Australian government is in an emergency meeting. So I think currently everybody is in an emergency response mode. Well, that will be important for us to come back to normalcy. But more significantly, we have to see what are the learnings that we are learning from this particular episode and what can we do so as to prevent that these kinds of episodes don't happen again and again.
How this is effective?
Well, I think this kind of an episode is affecting India in distinctive ways. Well, airlines are getting impacted. Their systems are not working. Hospitals are getting impacted. Patients are not able to get access to critical health care. So much so, television channels and their broadcasts are getting impacted. These are some of the documented cases I see almost in the entire corporate India, where systems are not able to work together. The operations of corporate India are getting impacted. So it could have an impact upon the nation, upon the national economy, and upon the confidence and the morale of the digital stakeholders.
In this crucial time, what Indian government should do? Because meetings are taking place in other countries.
Well, the government of India is very, very proactive in its approaches. Currently, they're looking at into this entire issue. They have taken cognizance of this entire episode. That's what the public domain tells us. But I think India needs to do far more. The government of India now immediately needs to investigate this. The government of India also needs to make the service providers more accountable in terms of what did they do to prevent this kind of a misuse or an abuse. And they need to elaborate specific now guidelines and rules under Section 79, read with Section 87 of the Information Technology Act 2000. The government also now needs to come up with a dedicated national cyber security law so that these kind of episodes, once they happen, all stakeholders should have substantial clarity as to what should be their rights, duties and obligations in scenarios like this. I think the government of India needs to come up with cyber resilience, legal frameworks which can promote more cyber resilience, and ultimately creating more capacity building awareness about cyber security and its ramifications is going to be one of the key thrust areas for the government.
सर हिंदी में करते हैं। तो पूरी दुनिया में काम करना लगभग बंद कर दिया है। क्या कारण है इसके पीछे? क्या दूसरा ऑप्शन हो सकता है?
आज अभी कहना बहुत मुश्किल है क्या हुआ है, लेकिन ये बात स्पष्ट है कि कंप्यूटर्स चलने बंद हो गए हैं। उनको जब लॉगिन करते हैं तब दिक्कत आती है। बहुत सारे कंप्यूटर्स में ब्लू डेथ स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है और इसका सीधा तात्पर्य ये हुआ है कि कंप्यूटर
So that is, of course, a cybersecurity expert there talking about cybersecurity laws and all. But again, that's a bit of a stretch. We need to be very, careful in not being alarmists here, because now the companies have not yet spoken about a cyber incident. Now, one of the concerns will, of course, be if there is any word from the companies about a cyber incident, which would have been out immediately after the outage, but that's not come. So far, it is only being described as a technical issue. And of course, as per preliminary information that we are getting right now, is that all of these, of course, softwares are bound to get updates from time to time. During one such update of this particular antivirus software, there seems to have been some issue. Usually, these kind of issues are detected at the testing phase itself, so that they are sorted out before they are released to the public. But that seems to have somehow not happened in this particular case, because of which there seems to be an issue. In fact, the governments also are now taking a cognizance of this, because again, even though it's not being described as a cyber security incident, the governments still are dependent on CrowdStrike infrastructure as well. So they're also, of course, going to be taking care. In fact,